talk about the environment and what business is doing to make things better. Last week, a Dutch court ordered Shell to pay, that's oil and gas giant Shell, to pay compensation for oil spills in the Niger Delta region in a ruling which could pave the way for more cases against the multinational oil firm. Now, the Court of Appeal in The Hague ruled that the British-Dutch company must issue payouts over a long-running civil case involving 4 Nigerian farmers seeking compensation and a cleanup from the company over pollution caused by leaking oil pipelines. So beyond that, what about the environment? What about climate change? Where is Nigeria in this discussion? Joining me live to talk about this development as well as issues surrounding what I've just mentioned is a renowned environmentalist and the director of Health of Mother Foundation at Nemo Bassi. Mr. Bassi, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So kicking things off, what do you make of the court decision in the ruling against Shell?
Well, the court decision brought about a lot of implications. It has a lot of implications. Number one is that it's always a tough, long, rough road for victims of environmental degradation perpetrated by powerful transnational corporations to ever hope to have justice. And this particular case took 13 years to get to where we are today. It opens clearly the way for other victims to know that these corporations cannot abuse our environment and our people and our communities and then escape back to their safe home bases just to enjoy the profit. So it gives a lot of hope for the people, and it's also a signal to corporations that environmental misbehavior has to be curtailed, has to come to an end. It's understandably there's an environmental accident, but to consciously allow the kind of things we see in Nigeria, gas flaring for over 60 years, and all the other environmental harms are simply not acceptable.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bassi. Okay, so they've now lost. You said it took 13 years, as you've mentioned. They've now lost in the appeals court. Do you expect the company to fight this decision any further?
I expect that they would abide by this judgment and negotiate concerning the compensation that they have to pay to the communities who have been so terribly, horribly damaged by the actions of Shell. When the first judgment was made in 2013, I think only one of the communities got a positive outcome. That is the community at the Dauda. And Shell was asked to pay compensation for that. But the other two communities, the Roma community and Goi community, were denied. Now, the appeal court has affirmed that they had a good case and that Shell is responsible for the damage. I expect Shell to secure its social capital by doing the right thing and just paying up for the mess that they've created in these communities.
And beyond the Niger Delta region, how do you think other companies in Nigeria view the environment?
This is a good question. How it's not just the corporations. How does the public entities we have in this country, how do they view the environment? I think they take the environment with extreme levity. The transnational oil companies, the mining companies in the Middle Belt, in Zamfara State, in other places, they just see the environment as something to be sacrificed for profit. The environmental cost is always ignored. They don't make allowance for restoration if there's a problem. In fact, every extractive pit, every mine pit, every oil well has a lifespan, and it should be expected that at the end of the lifespan, the environment will be restored as much as possible to what it was previously. Now, this has not been the case in Nigeria, and it is really terrible. If you look at the Solid Minerals Act of 2007, it provides for environmental care, provides for the companies who are mining to lay aside some money that will be used to restore if there's an accident, and also to bring about a closure at the end of the lifespan of the mine field. But generally people just ignore the environment, and there's no serious enforcement because in terms of the oil fields in Nigerian state, and the corporations are working hand in hand. And with the regulator is the government, is also a producer, an operator. How can they regulate themselves? This is the problem we're having, and that has to be solved.
Thank you so much. I don't want to focus. I mean, we have to focus, of course, on the firms. What about the Nigerian people, Mr. Bassi? What about the Nigerian people and their assessment and how they treat the environment. How would you assess that?
I'll give you two responses to that. Number one is that the Nigerian people depend on the environment. If you go to majority of Nigerians depend on the natural environment. We drink water from the creeks, from the streams, from the rivers directly. And so our people are careful to ensure that the rivers are not contaminated. If you're in a traditional societies, rural areas, they have rules and regulations about who goes to the stream at what time, who does what. When you wash clothes is different from when you fetch potable water. And so the Nigerian people care about the environment. The forests that we have, there are a lot of community managed forests that are so well protected by the communities because they depend on the forest for food, for medicine, for recreation, for spiritual activities. And so the Nigerian person is so close to them. We are called sons and daughters of the soil. It's not a manner of just speaking. It's because we are so closely tied to the environment. But the capitalist system, the destructive, exploitative system that raises corporation above care and environment of the people, this kind of system thinks about the environment as something to be grabbed, something to be transformed for profit. And that kind of mindset is what we need to challenge. So it's inherent in the Nigerian people to take out the environment, but when they are in a kind of cannibal environment that eats up the people, swallows the people, doesn't care for the people, then of course people just look for survival. And that's when you see some misbehavior from the citizens also.
Thank you for that. Thank you. You sounded very much like Joe Biden talking about capitalism and environmentalism, because he's talked a lot about pushing, a climate change agenda. He, already has an executive order where he halted the Keystone pipeline between Canada, delivering oil from Canada to, I think, Texas or so on. I want to ask you about your assessment of Nigeria's climate change approach.
Nigeria always makes the right noises when it comes to climate change, but we have some basic fundamental problems. And number one is that if you look at the Nigerian nationally determined contributions, we've made a very clear statement that we're going to reduce carbon emissions and greenhouse emissions. And at the same, but when you look at the PIB for the petroleum industry bill, for example, that's before the National Assembly, there's a clear indication Nigeria wants to increase production of oil, crude oil, more beyond 2 million barrels a day to maybe 3 million barrels a day over the coming years. So if you make a declaration, you're going to reduce emissions on one hand, then on the other hand, you are going to increase the exploitation, the extraction of fossil fuels, which is the main cause of greenhouse gases. Then, of course, our position is contradictory, it's not coherent, and it leaves a lot to be desired. I want to also say the issue of the Great Green Wall. This is a low-hanging fruit that really shows government seriousness to be a part of that belt that will go from Djibouti in East Africa to Dakar in West Africa. 8,000 kilometers long range of forest cutting to the Sahel. When the last time our president was at the United Nations, I think in 2019, he did declare that Nigeria would plant 25 million trees. Planting trees, not cutting down trees, is a major way to take climate action. But up to now, I'm not sure anybody knows how many trees have been planted. So we make statements, we don't take actions. We're still producing single-use plastics. We've not banned single-use plastics, and these are blocking our drains, killing wildlife, both in the rivers and in terrestrial areas, compounding the flood problems across the nation whenever floodings come. And so we have a lot to do.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do. Very, very illustrative and informative discussion with you, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Nimo Bassey, the Director, Health of Mother Earth Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about firms, Nigeria, and of course, the Nigerian environment and climate change.